All right, then, let's begin tonight with some sad news, partly coming from Kaduna and Yobe State. Suspected Boko Haram insurgents have attacked the Katako village, 18 kilometers away from Damaturu, the Yobe State capital. Some of the residents told China's television that the attackers drove into the community in an armored personal carrier and 6 Toyota Hilux vehicles mounted with anti-craft guns. Residents who fled to bushes for safety said insurgents might have come to loot foodstuff, today being the market day in Katako village. However, some of them also said that the military had ambushed the insurgents while returning to their base. Katako community was last attacked in March 16 when the terrorists burned down blocks of health facilities. And in Kaduna State, bandits have attacked Ugwan Matari Sabum Tasha in Shikun local government area of Kaduna State, kidnapping no fewer than 14 people. The bandits were said to have invaded the community, which is adjoining Wagi village towards Romi River at about 11 p.m. on Wednesday night. They began shooting sporadically before moving to some houses where they kidnapped residents. A landlord and some of his tenants are among the victims. The incident occurred barely 3 hours after more than 121 students of Bethel Baptist School in Shikun local government area were abducted by bandits on Monday. But the immediate past chairman of Shikun local government area, Mr. Saimala Lima, told China television correspondent that a total of 14 members of the community were kidnapped by the bandits and taken away to an unknown destination. Meanwhile, the Inspector General of Police has visited Governor El Rufai and has assured that the force will tackle manpower issues. He also admonished officers and men of the Kaduna State Police Command to redouble their efforts toward tackling emerging and contemporary security challenges in the state. Well, let's talk to some of those who can give us perspective to this security situation. I'm being joined from Damaturu, a former federal lawmaker, Senator Alkali Jajere. Thank you so much, Senator, for joining us. And from Abuja studio is a retired military officer, Major General Henry Ayola, a former commander, Operation Safe Haven, and a security consultant. Let me begin with you. Good evening, General. Thank you so much for coming tonight. Some sad news coming from the northern region of the country, Kaduna, and also in Damaturu. First, let's touch on Damaturu, for example. Yobe, for example, where Boko Haram has struck again. For some time, we've not seen so much of the activities of these insurgents in Yobe State. But now we are seeing that, and we understand, and some news coming in is that some of the insurgents were double-crossed at some point after the late siege on that community. Give us a sense of what perhaps could be happening. There is a change in pattern between the late Chief of Army Staff, and there is a new Chief of Army Staff who has said that he will ensure, interestingly, he's the commander of the Aden Saki operation in the northeast region of the country. Give us a sense of what you know about what has happened today in that area.
Thank you very much, Sharon. Good evening, viewers. Well, let me start with the good news. I like to put it this way. Judging from what we know about developmental process, what we are passing through as a country is what I will call a transition phase in that process of development. And the good news is that it offers us some opportunities, ample opportunities, really. It's a case of opportunities in diversity, rather in adversity, where we can identify that within this set of challenges, concurrent attacks from the insurgents, from the bandits, there are ways and means by which we can come out of this transition phase and transition crisis and be able to chart a new course for the nation. There are alternative and superior ideologies that we can deploy that will help us to chart this course and transit from this phase to a new beginning where we too can enter into the virtuous cycle rather than the vicious cycle we've been going through and become a modernizing nation. Having said that, like you rightly said, Sheung, the attacks of the insurgents have not been this much on the Yobe side. I mean, we know that the concentration of the insurgency had been more on Borno State than Yobe all along. So this appears like some deliberate opening of new fronts. It's a way of diverting attention in one sense, or expanding the scope and opening new fronts so that they can whittle down the issue of, the advantage of concentration of force on the part of our forces. So we also need to do a counter strategy, but not necessarily yielding to them and still being able to have a balance of force in dealing with the challenges at hand.
But if you look at what is happening in that part and some of the effort, because some of the stories that we are hearing is perhaps some of the Super Tucano aircraft that Nigeria asked for and purchased, perhaps you might be getting some of the deliveries perhaps earlier than envisaged. And for those who have said, look, what we need is more equipment to fight this war and prosecute this war to the end. Some also will argue that, look, it is a sign of this dying insurgents, especially when we saw the friction between the ISWAP and the local Boko Haram insurgent. But what do you make of what is happening when they kill, when they maim, or they attack, and they go on the run? How porous is the border, and what could be done in that area? Because we understand that some of the attacks happen just about 20 kilometers away from Borno border, bordering Yobe and Borno State.
Well, thank you very much. All along, both Borno and Yobe have been part of the theater all along from the beginning. Don't forget, if you recall the history of Boko Haram, it actually started from Yobe State before they moved to Borno. And then, Maiduguri became their epicenter, and then thereafter they began, before, of course, the killing of Muhammad Yusuf. Yobe has been part of it, just that it was not their center of gravity, it was not their center of activity that, at the time they went violent. And it's been, sporadic, once in a while kind of attack that we have been seeing before. But I think one way for us to approach this, while we wait for equipment and weapon and armament that the federal government had ordered, I think it again makes the case for the need for states to be able to do something at their level. And that brings me to the recent interview, the presidential interview granted by Arise TV. And the president himself made a very strong case, which I think the governors can really run with. Let me put it this way. That interview brought out a number of very positive things that the president said about what the states could do. And the first thing is to actually say it's a vindication of the fact that security is first a local issue. And so it's best dealt with at the local level. He also went further to more or less amplify the fact that self-defense is a universal right, is a divine right, is a given right. The Article 51 of the UN Charter talks about the right of the inherent right of individual or collective self-defense. And premise on these two, the governors have a leverage here to run with what the president has said in a way, to take it as a tacit approval from the highest level of the executive. Of course, simply so, but not taking it too simply, is to see it as an expression of intent from the highest office and a declaration of principles that they could use to further this case for state police. And we have, as the chairman, national chairman of the Restructure Actualization Movement, this being our turf, and we are glad that the governors have come to our page, and we are willing to help to drive this push to see it as a watertight case that the president himself had made for the governors to take it up from there if they have to pursue it by having an executive bill presented for the necessary adjustment in the exclusive list, and of course, pari pursue with some devolution of resources that will help them. If not, we'll just be transferring the same problem at the center to the federating units if we don't ensure there is a concurrent devolution of resources to give them what they need to run a more effective state police than is being run now at the center. So these are the ways I see we can approach this, so that while we wait and while the best can be done by what the armed forces have on ground, hoping that with better equipment and better armament, they'll be able to do more. I think the states could be helped also to take advantage of this window of opportunity that the president has thrown to them. We are willing in the restructure actualization movement to help to drive this and see it to a conclusion. That's my suggestion for now.
Yeah, let's get some insights on the ground. We have Senator Alkali Jejere, a former senator from Yobe State, who is going to be talking to us from Damaturu. Thank you so much, distinguished Senator. It's good to see you from your time at the 7th Assembly. Thank you so much for coming. Give us a sense of what is happening. It's been a while we heard about any attack whatsoever from Yobe State. How did this happen? What are you hearing? What have you been told about what happened on the ground?
There is very unfortunate this confidence state of the we are not out of the many
It appears, Senator, I don't know, it's difficult to get your audio properly. I can barely hear what you're saying. Allow our engineers and guys in the control room to fix that just in a moment before. Let me go to Abuja studio and we'll come back to you after we fix that. General, let me come back to you. With what we have seen, always there's been this talk about the air support and the land support in fighting the synergy that is needed in fighting this war. The big question is that a lot of us who have been to that region, the northeastern region of the country, know how vast that land is, some of the ungoverned territories in those areas, and how large the border is, making it easy for these insurgents to operate and move outward. But how easy is it to synergize? And what are the kind of sophisticated modern weaponry to be able to prosecute both on the ground and aerially to prosecute this war?
Yeah, thank you very much, Yung. Well, let me start from the last part of the question. I don't think it's strategically wise and operationally safe to at least the kind of weapons and armament that they will need. But to say that I'm encouraged by, and I think the last time I was in your studio in Lagos, that was my parting comment, that there is an obvious jointness, better cooperation that is being seen on the battlefield and among the commanders and the service chiefs, and so that's a plus for us, on the armed forces side, and for us as a nation, really. So it's just to make the best use of that by ensuring that we maximize that cooperation and that, the services can cover one another. And I'm sure with that, it will help to really accentuate the punch with which the armed forces will handle this. So that's obvious. The other thing really is that I think we should bring that jointness, or what I would call a unified effort now, is the area of intelligence. That's beyond the armed forces. I know there is a whole lot of capacity on intelligence with the DSS, with all the intelligence arm of all the other paramilitary organizations in the nation. If we form a unified board of, an intelligent unified board, so that we can bring in a convergence of effort in that area, so that all operations can be fully intelligence driven.
All right.
And that we can improve our real-time intelligence.
Okay.
With
General.
the use of all the technology available, like a UAV. The nature of this operation really brings to the fore the importance of intelligence in operation. And I mean, basically all operations are driven by intelligence, much more when it comes to insurgency, where you have a hybrid kind of warfare. We need to have real-time intelligence. And so there is a need to bring all the resources we have. I've made this case again and again. The need to even expand our intelligence community as a nation. There are many capacities in the academia, in the private security sector, in several other areas where there are people who are specialists in different fields and who can, be brought, in a closed setting where everybody can bring to the table, from his core competence area, and we will have better intelligence. And then, our efforts will be better coordinated and for effect. That certainly is one area. I've also written paper about effect-based strategies and effect-based operations. I remember when the president visited Maiduguri last time, I was making that point, that the encouragement that came from the president also should be capitalized upon. We should see it as more or less a national security presidential directive, and use that to drive the operation. Use that to bring as many other agencies that will be of help on board, to partake, to participate, and bring in their best, so that at the end of the day, we are giving our collective best as a nation. That is a very important aspect that will help the operation generally.
So, well, let's take a break. And when we come back, we hear from General Ayola on the issue of the kidnap in Kaduna State. How can we stop this spate of kidnap? Why is Kaduna vulnerable to these bandits? And what can be done to stem it? And of course, we'll go to Imo State and look at the crisis rocking the Imo State House of Assembly. Stay with us, everyone. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. We have our eyes on what is happening, the security situation in Kaduna and Yobe State. General Henry Ayola has been talking to us. Technology just developed a mind of his own today, and everything seems to have been done to get Senator Alkali Jajere seems to being frustrated tonight, just for us to get information and insight into what is happening in the northeast region of the country. But let's take a look at what is happening in Kaduna State. The Inspector General of Police was there on the ground visiting the governor, Nasir El-Rufai, and there are a few things that he said. Perhaps we can get to hear the Inspector General of Police on his visits to Kaduna State, the hopes of getting those that have been kidnapped back, and the effort of the police in that state.
Now, in a courtesy call on the governor of Kaduna State, His Excellency Malam Ahmed El-Rufai, while on a familiarization tour to the command. So I paid him a courtesy call, but we have used the visit to discuss issues relating to security and how we will go about it to make life easier for law-abiding citizens of this state. It is through lack of manpower is a challenge. We are making effort to overcome it, but challenges are always there. They are surmountable. We will use what we have to the best of our knowledge and ability to do better. But very soon we will overcome the issues regarding the challenges of having the increase in manpower. You can motivate by punishment, you can motivate by reward. So I will use the two.
Okay, so let's get to hear from General Henry Ayola on the situation, the abduction that we've seen over and over again in Kaduna State. Give us a sense. Why is Kaduna vulnerable to these to these bandit attacks and this sort of kidnaps that we have seen? Another one has happened in this Chukun local government area. Why Kaduna?
Yeah, thank you very much, Sheon, for that. A question that I'm very passionate about because if you know my background, I grew up as a young boy in Kaduna and then went to school in Zaria and back to Kaduna. So my life had really revolved around Kaduna for a long while. I was about 6 times in Jaji, which is midway between Kaduna and Zaria. So anything that touches Kaduna really touches a very important place in my heart. Kaduna has always been a melting point, you know, an ethnic, ethno-religious melting point where, I mean, all kinds of all ethnic groups are met in Kaduna and lived peacefully for, you know, amicably and all of that for a long time. So again, you would then wonder why it's now that same Kaduna that is a target for the bad guys, you know. That means they are really hitting us at our center of gravity as a nation. So again, you know, when you look at the geostrategic location of Kaduna, it's like, it's more or less like the center state of Nigeria, you know, bordered by several states, you know. So, and that apart from having many ethnic groups, you know, and all of that, and of course there are areas where, you know, the outskirt areas. I remember in those days we used to call Kaduna small London. You know, that's what it was for us as small boys. That was the highest of civilization we saw then, you know. And so when you look at the outskirts of Kaduna, there are many, many villages that are removed from, you know, the developed areas, you know, by distance and all of that. And of course, that will be attraction for these bad guys.
Okay.
And it's not an easy thing. These are not problems we can solve in a jiffy because they are developmental problems. And, you know, it's Frederick Delano Roosevelt, the 32nd president of America, who says that fundamental problems can never be solved from the same knowledge level from which they are created, you know. So we have to raise our knowledge levels in so many things that we have to deal with. I've always suggested the need to create think tanks, strategic think tank on different aspects of these challenges so that we can synergize, you know, and then synthesize the best of solutions and bring them to the fore. So that the operators, you know, the military and the paramilitary can even be freed, you know, to face the challenges that are peculiar to their own different services, where their core competencies can be brought to bear. And then we can have some retired persons from these different services and agencies and other, even younger generations who have ideas, who can bring to bear. I laughed when you said there's a major military formation in Kaduna. Well, headquarters, a whole lot of headquarters of formations are in Kaduna and training institutions. But you know, it's these same people that are involved in all of the other operations right there in the Northeast and other parts of the country. So there's really nobody who is idle somewhere that you can just pick on and say, oh, because they have nothing doing now, so let them go here. And of course, it's not even practicable to think of posting the military troops to every school. We have so many schools in our country as a whole. And we just have to think of some local security arrangement that will help to deter and improve response time when these things occur. Using technology, for example, using drones, using cameras, and then, of course, taking advantage of the national emergency centers that are there, you know, tying up these facilities in such a way that can help to reduce response time. it's a very unusual problem. It's not something that anybody will have prepared for, you know. And so we just have to think of the best, that maybe form a team of the police, the civil defense, you know, where it's practicable, of course, within the limit of the areas of responsibility of these different services, and the intelligence arms of some of these other paramilitary organizations, so that they can be positioned in such a way they can respond to SOS calls from some radius within their reach that will cover some of these schools. That's what I can think about, that in the interim, other than a grand strategic approach that we really call for a higher level of knowledge that we need to deploy. Now, let me say a little about that, you know, in rounding up. In the restructured actualization movement, we are thinking of the idea of championing elite conversations that will lead to elite consensus that will help us to come with grand strategic approaches of solving these problems. I talked about alternative and superior ideology earlier. There are also, you know, approaches to dealing with banditry and insurgency, you know, beyond what we are doing now, that will, you know, be at that grand strategic level that can then be devolved down the line, so that some of those at the tactical level can then apply them, you know. These are the kind of things that can help us. We have to think outside the box. We have to think of things that are beyond our current level of knowledge and training, and bring everything we can bring on board. Lessons from other parts of the world, lessons from Israel, from, you know, the Middle East, from Pakistan, from Afghanistan, and all of those. Some of these papers have been written on them. Maybe we need to dust them up and bring what is useful in our own circumstance. I mean, of course, bearing the peculiarity of our own environment. But again, to round up with the good news, all of these happening are giving us ample opportunity to cross this transition crisis stage of our national life and be able to birth a new Nigeria, one nation under God, that will be able to fulfill that manifest destiny that our forefathers saw, and that made them to go with one resolve to ask for the independence of this nation. And I pray that God will help us to get there. Thank you very much.
Major General Henry Ayola, thank you so much for talking to us tonight on the program. Some perspective that you have shared perhaps will give insight onto what else do we need to do in moving forward in tackling some of these insecurity challenges. Thank you indeed for your time tonight.
Thank you, Sean.